see. At the end of the day, if you let Caitlin Clark play her game, this team can make some noise. If you don't let Caitlin Clark play her game, this team will be playing with... Oh, Stephanie. This is the most dumbest coach in the league. You have the player coaches die for, and White is doing everything she can to kill CeCe's brand and take away her talent, and not willing to put a team around her, also willing to drag down the whole league with it couldn't see if you rides the boat, all tides will be lifted. She was known for team killer, and that fit.
What makes this entire situation so explosive isn't just the losses, the coaching criticism, or the non-stop media pressure surrounding the Indiana Fever. It's the feeling that the WNBA's biggest superstar is being pulled in two completely different directions at once. On one side, you have Caitlin Clark bringing unprecedented attention, ticket sales, television ratings, and energy to the league. On the other side, you have a franchise still trying to figure out how to fully unlock her game without creating tension everywhere else on the floor. And now fans are starting to ask a dangerous question. Is Indiana actually helping Clark succeed, or accidentally holding back the very player who changed the league overnight?
ESPN's newest stooge, Laurencia Moten. Just like Carolyn Peck, just like Stephanie White, they all believe the Indiana Fever is tougher to guard when Caitlin Clark is not in the lineup. Different day, but it's the same message they keep going out. And who is this person in the middle of my screen? Didn't we get rid of Monica McNutt last year? She's back, isn't she? Ah, dang.
Here's my hot take. Honestly, the Indiana Fever played some of their best team basketball without Caitlin Clark, and that's because she's like the sun that offense kind of orbits around. The ball is constantly in her hands, which just made it their offense extremely easy to guard. Now, without her in the lineup, Stephanie White had to decide who else was going to get in the mix. And their offense became so much more diverse. We saw Kelsey Mitchell having a tremendous season. Lexi Cole got in the fold. Aaliyah Boston, another dominant season. But all because they had to do it without Caitlin Clark. And that made their offense extremely hard to guard.
Fever finished 24-20 last year.
Look at Monica McNutt. Oh, folks. You know what this sounds like? This sounds like a certain somebody else.
You were at that game just now. Look, the Fever have been on a tear. They've won 2 in a row, a 25-point blowout of the Lynx in the Commissioner's Cup final, and then 27 against the Aces in this one. In both of those games without Caitlin Clark. How is Indiana getting...
The frustration surrounding Stephanie White has reached another level online because fans believe Indiana still hasn't built a consistent identity around Caitlin Clark's strengths. Every missed rotation, every stagnant offensive possession, and every questionable late-game adjustment immediately turns into a national conversation. That's the reality when you coach the most talked-about player in women's basketball. Supporters aren't just watching the games anymore. They're analyzing every decision like it could shape the future of the entire WNBA.
Now they're all friends. They're pals. So Stephanie White tells Carolyn Peck how she feels about Caitlin Clark and the offense when the ball's in her hands, and the offense when she's on the floor, and how Caitlin Clark affects the game. And then Carolyn Peck goes on ESPN and regurgitates that same message that Stephanie White gave her. And now ESPN hires this newest stooge who's looking up to Mama Hen, a.k.a. Carolyn Peck, and now she's regurgitating the stuff that Carolyn Peck said to her. But let's talk about it, shall we? Let's take a look, shall we? Shout out to Millie, daydream this. The Fever are better with Caitlin Clark. A look at Indiana's performance with and without Clark on the floor. Record, better with Caitlin Clark. Win percentage, better with Caitlin Clark. Points per game, higher with Caitlin Clark. Offensive rating, higher with Caitlin Clark. Effective field goal percentage, higher with Caitlin Clark. Assist rate, higher with Caitlin Clark. But we're not done here. Win percentage, points per game, field goals made per game, field goals attempted per game, field goal percentage. 3-pointers made, all better with Caitlin Clark. 3-pointers attempted, less with Caitlin. So you guys attempt more threes without Caitlin Clark than with Caitlin Clark? That kind of goes against the narrative, doesn't it? The 3-point percentage is yet...
What really pushed this story into overdrive was the growing debate happening across sports media. Multiple analysts began questioning whether Indiana's offense actually becomes more balanced when Clark isn't dominating the ball every possession. That opinion instantly divided the basketball world. Some analysts argued the Fever looked freer offensively during certain stretches without her. But Clark supporters fired back immediately, pointing to the numbers, the pace, the spacing, and the overall energy she creates the second she steps on the floor. And once that debate exploded online, every single Fever game suddenly felt bigger than basketball. Then fans started digging into the actual production, and that's where the conversation completely shifted. Because when Caitlin Clark is on the court, Indiana's offense doesn't just improve slightly, it transforms. The pace gets faster. The floor spacing opens up. Transition opportunities appear out of nowhere. Shooters get cleaner looks. Defenders panic the moment she crosses half court. The Fever score more efficiently, move the ball better, and create far more pressure on opposing defenses when Clark controls the tempo. That's why so many fans reject the idea that Indiana is somehow better without her. The numbers simply don't support it. And this is where Sophie Cunningham became such an important part of the story. Fans weren't just reacting to her body language. They were reacting to what she represented. Energy, toughness, emotion, protection. Every time Clark took a hard foul or faced criticism, supporters noticed which teammates showed visible fire and which ones stayed quiet. Sophie quickly became a fan favorite because people believed she genuinely understood the pressure surrounding Clark and wasn't afraid to match that intensity publicly. But here's where the story becomes bigger than one locker room rumor or one ESPN segment. The Indiana Fever are no longer just another rebuilding franchise. They've become the center of the WNBA universe. Every controversy surrounding Caitlin Clark instantly becomes league-wide breaking news. Every emotional reaction becomes viral content. Every coaching decision becomes a national debate. And that level of pressure can either build a dynasty or completely fracture a team from the inside. One moment especially changed the tone of the entire conversation online. After a difficult game, cameras caught Clark walking silently toward the locker room while fans screamed her name from the stands. No dramatic reaction. No frustration. No visible anger. Just exhaustion. And strangely enough, that quiet moment hit harder than any press conference ever could. Because for the first time, fans stopped seeing Caitlin Clark as just the face of the WNBA hype machine. They started seeing the emotional weight she's been carrying since entering the league. Now the pressure surrounding Indiana feels massive heading into the next phase of the season. Because this isn't just about wins and losses anymore. This is about whether the Fever can successfully build around the most important young star the WNBA has seen in years. Fans believe a major turning point is coming, whether that means coaching adjustments, locker room changes, or a complete shift in team identity. One thing is undeniable though, the entire basketball world is watching Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever closer than ever before. And if things continue spiraling publicly, the fallout could reshape conversations around the WNBA for the rest of the season. And this is exactly why the pressure surrounding Caitlin Clark feels completely different from anything the WNBA has experienced before. She didn't just enter the league as another rookie with hype. She entered as a cultural phenomenon. Arenas started selling out weeks in advance. Ticket prices exploded overnight. Television ratings jumped to numbers the league hadn't seen in years. Suddenly, every Fever road game felt like a playoff atmosphere. Opposing teams started moving games into larger arenas just to handle the demand. That's the kind of attention Clark brought into women's basketball before she even finished her first season. Which is why every controversy around Indiana now feels amplified 10 times bigger than normal. What makes this situation even more intense is how divided the sports media world has become around Clark's success. Some analysts believe the criticism surrounding her is unfair because no rookie in recent memory has entered a league carrying this level of expectation. Others argue that with superstar attention comes superstar scrutiny. But regardless of which side people choose, one thing is undeniable. Caitlin Clark has become the center of nearly every major WNBA conversation. And when one player becomes that important to league visibility, every single headline surrounding that player suddenly carries massive weight. Fans also started paying attention to the little things that normally go unnoticed during a season. Timeout reactions, bench energy, missed handshakes, frustrated body language after turnovers. In a normal situation, nobody would care. But when the spotlight surrounding the Fever became this massive, every tiny moment turned into internet evidence. Entire fan theories started forming around 2-second clips. And once social media begins creating narratives that fast, organizations can lose control of the story almost overnight. The reason Sophie Cunningham became such a huge talking point online wasn't just because of her physical style of play. Fans connected with her emotionally because they believed she brought something Indiana desperately needed: visible loyalty and toughness around Clark. Every time emotions ran high during a game, cameras seemed to catch Sophie stepping directly into the intensity instead of backing away from it. And in today's sports culture, where fans constantly analyze who supports their superstar and who doesn't, that kind of energy becomes incredibly powerful online. Meanwhile, the pressure surrounding Stephanie White keeps growing because coaching Caitlin Clark is unlike coaching any normal franchise player. This isn't just about basketball strategy anymore. Every decision gets dissected by national media, former players, analysts, YouTubers, podcasts, and millions of fans watching clips online within minutes. One substitution becomes a debate. One offensive adjustment becomes controversy. One bad loss becomes breaking news. And fair or unfair, that kind of environment can wear down even experienced coaching staffs over time. At this point, the Fever story has become bigger than wins and losses. It's become a conversation about the future direction of the entire league. Because many fans believe the WNBA is entering a completely new era driven by star power, viral attention, and mainstream visibility. And whether people love the attention surrounding Caitlin Clark or hate it, they all understand one reality: the league is being watched more closely now than it has in years. That's why emotions surrounding Indiana feel so explosive right now. The stakes no longer feel small. What's really fueling the chaos online is the non-stop battle between fan bases. Every Fever game now turns into a social media war within minutes. Supporters defend Clark aggressively. Critics push back even harder. Analysts trend online for single comments. Debate shows clip every reaction for engagement. And because the WNBA audience has grown so rapidly over the last year, these conversations don't stay inside basketball circles anymore. They spill across the entire sports world. People forget how exhausting this level of visibility can become for a young player. Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA carrying expectations that most athletes never experience in an entire career. Every game became national content. Every mistake became a headline. Every hard foul sparked controversy. Every quote got analyzed for hidden meaning. And despite all of that pressure, fans still expect her to perform like a superstar every single night. That emotional weight is something very few athletes at any level ever truly experience. And this is why so many people believe Indiana is approaching a turning point that could define the future of the franchise. Because eventually, all this pressure forces something to change. Either the team fully stabilizes around Clark and grows stronger from the chaos, or the tension keeps building until major decisions start happening behind the scenes. Fans can feel that pressure building in real time, which is exactly why interest surrounding the Fever keeps getting bigger every week. The craziest part about this entire situation is that the story still feels unfinished. Nobody truly knows what happens next. Maybe Indiana rallies together and silences all the criticism. Maybe the coaching staff adjusts and the chemistry improves. Or maybe this pressure surrounding the Fever keeps escalating until the entire league is forced to react. But one thing is absolutely clear right now: whenever Caitlin Clark steps onto the floor, the basketball world pays attention. And until this situation finally settles down, every game, every reaction, and every headline is going to feel massive.